Hello! Continuing on with my series of short videos on the tender shoot for Shrty Sptmbr. Links down below to the organizers of the event. Yes, so I'm doing a bunch of videos on the novella The Tender Shoot by Cltt. Who was Cltt? Sidonie Gabrielle Cltt, born 1873, died 1954, French writer, mime, actress, and journalist. I think just as an overview, Cltt seems to have been someone who is known for her beautiful prose, her delving into the lives of women, very much kind of taking seriously the various lifetime periods of women and girls, and writing very frankly about sexuality, about love, with perhaps a fairly dark view on the possibilities of love between men and women, and dark ideas of sort of dominance and submission perhaps being the only connecting points with the majority of those people. She married her first husband when she was 20. He was 14 years her senior. He was the one who encouraged her writing, but also took credit for her writing. He had a stable of writers that he had them writing books for him, and Cltt became one of those. So her first books, the Cltt books, were published under his name. Willie was the pseudonym that Henry Gautier Villers published under. He published under a lot of other pseudonyms as well. Separating from Willie, she ended up supporting herself on the stage, oftentimes reenacting scenes from Cltt on the stage, because Willie held the copyright to her books. She wasn't seeing any money from them, and she had a series of relationships with women. She was bisexual. 1912, she married a man and had a daughter. 1920, she published Shrty, the story of a love between an older woman and a much younger man. In 1924, that marriage ends with her, partly as a result of her affair with her 16-year-old stepson. I think the big thing to take away from a lot of Clott's work is that she mined her life for stories, whether it wasn't like a one-to-one thing. She never claimed that, but it was very much a part of the mystique of the persona that she put forward, was of being her character, of being this being this tight unity between, and she used this and toyed with this. In 1925, she married Maurice Goudicquet, who was a man of Jewish descent, and they stayed together until her death. In 1941, under German occupation, her husband was arrested by the Gestapo and imprisoned for seven weeks, until Cltt was finally able to get him sprung free, and she spent the rest of the war, under the threat of that her husband would be rearrested and sent to the death camps, as so many Jewish people all over Europe were. She published articles for several pro-Nazi newspapers, sort of lifestyle articles. She also published a novel during this time which contained a lot of anti-Semitic slurs in it. 1944, Gigi was published, which became a Hollywood movie in 1958, which, if you ever heard Maurice Chevalier singing "Thank Goodness for Little Girls," that is where that comes from. She was feted for many honors, especially kind of later in life. She was elected to the Académie Goncourt, and was actually the president of it, and was a Grand Officer of the Legion d'Honneur in 1953, a year before she died. When she died at 81, she was refused a religious ceremony, a religious funeral by the Catholic Church. but was given one of the first state funerals afforded to a female writer, and was interred in Père Lachaise cemetery. You know, so she seems to have had a very kind of, she was sexually radical, but also kind of in her acts, but also kind of arch conservative a lot of times in her pronouncements. When asked if she was a feminist, she's stated that she thought feminists deserved the lash and the harem. She had a lesbian daughter, and had engaged in same-sex relationships herself, but did not support her own daughter in that. She was a very complex woman, with fiercely independent, also kind of characterized as kind of almost kind of so selfish, but in a way that also, the writers that I've read, I'm reading Judith Thurman's Secret of the Flesh at the moment. It's like one of these things of like, maybe it's the only way you could be a writer, an artist at that time, is to be a completely selfish person, selfish to the point of not particularly, of neglecting everything else, and everything revolving around you. I think going forward, the thing that I'll keep in mind for as I do kind of the deep dive into the tender shoot, is that her words on the relation of her life to her work, which were, "Do not think as you read this that I am painting my own portrait. Be patient. It is only my model." So yeah, with that in mind, we'll continue on with The Tender Shoot by Cltt. More videos later.